You turned me on to that book a couple of years ago, The Future is Faster.
Yeah, Peter Diamandis.
Yes, yeah.
Future is faster than you think.
Yeah, crazy. Crazy book.
And that's crazy, but it is.
Sure. No, oh yeah. I mean,
and AI wasn't really even explained in that book.
Nope. No, it wasn't. You're right. It was literally flying cars and robots.
Yeah, it was.
Right.
Welcome to the AI show from ThinkLabs. In the whirlwind of AI advancements and innovation, we do the deep dives and all the research, so you don't have to. We Fisher-Price the essential news, updates, interviews, and breakthroughs of the week, providing actionable insight that impacts you, your teams, and your companies. Now, let's get started. Here's your hosts, Sam Stanton and Robbie Sawyer.
Aloha and welcome to episode number 13. Lucky number, episode 13, Robbie. This is Robbie. This is Sam.
What's happening? Are we in Hawaii?
No, we're back now.
Oh, okay.
We're still on Hawaii time, though.
Right. Yeah, boy, that's true. Facts, as my 16-year-old would say.
No, we missed an episode or two, and we are happy to be back with all kinds of fun things to share today.
So many things to talk about. Not sure where to start. Well, I mean, we might as well start with Hawaii since that's so fresh on our minds.
Okay.
What were we doing in Hawaii, Sam?
So Hawaii, as you know, we have a big hospitality and marketing background where we're seeing a lot of application for AI, but we are asked to do our AI literacy and education and understanding for a completely different industry, which most might think are not very AI savvy or knowledgeable.
The industry is, to be sure, in terms of the equipment that is being used in this industry, for sure. But you're right. To say that we were blown away, excited, surprised, all those, it would be an
the
understatement.
industry is, as far as the guys in the field and using the latest technology and gear. But when you move into headquarters and into corporate offices, AI is just two letters to them.
Many legacy, literally legacy businesses where you've got generations of people running businesses that are 100, 150 years old.
And to give perspective there, we normally ask how many people are savvy or using, any of the GPTs of the day, to which typically we'll see about 50% have dabbled with it. In this case, I think it was at best at 30, and we were a complete surprise for that audience. This audience was business owners of, like Robbie said, legacy companies, which were many on that retiring age, and they would have retired had they not owned the business. And then a whole echelon of up-and-coming absolutely go-getters. What can I do to improve everything I do? And go.
Yeah. No, and by their own admission, that demographic is changing within that industry. We not trying to be cryptic, we're just not comfortable sharing the organization, but that demographic is getting younger. So there were a lot of the business owners, but there were also C-level, C-suite folks that were 10, 20, and in some cases 30 years younger. So it was an interesting mix, demographic-wise.
And they were extremely polite to begin with, because there was a lot of what in the is going on here. This is kind of whatever. But then the minute we start dropping some facts on them, science fact, not science fiction, you could see the wheels turn. And you could see them get excited.
Right.
You could see them get interested.
For sure. And the fact that we had framed it in a way that, as we do with all of these groups, it's done in a very easy to understand format. We're sharing it in a very Fisher-Priced, yet not insulting sort of way. But it was funny talking to somebody. They'd been coming for 25 years, and all three of the days were around the future and innovation in some way, shape, or form. They had the first day was innovation around marketing, and of course we were there, and then there was the futurist on the last day. But I'm like, holy cow, did you guys, talking to this guy, did you realize that you were going to get hit with 3 days of futurist or innovation, AI driven discussions? And they're like, no way. And they thoroughly, tooting our own horn, thoroughly enjoyed the hour that we spent on stage with them. So it was fun.
Well, let me toot a little bit more, Robbie, because I think what made it so impactful for them is that it wasn't necessarily future speak, and it wasn't something that wasn't attainable, which so much of the presentations are these days, but it was applicable, tactile advice and insight that they could go employ immediately, which is followed up by the Boggler bar outside, where they were all able to come with their jillions of questions. I mean, it was crazy to hear all the different opportunities, not only in the field, but in headquarters, where this could be used. And we got so many how would yous, how could yous, what ifs, and began people on their journey.
Sure.
And that's now carried on to this week of, hey, this was awesome. I went back, all my office thought I was completely crazy doing this stuff, but now they want a part of it. How do we do that? So if they hadn't addressed it prior, and that was interesting too, there were a couple massive global companies, and these guys were like, well, they're working on corporate across the board. I don't know when that's ever going to happen, but we're kind of free to go dabble and try on our own. And we have been, and now we really will be with this. So that they were not fearful of it. They just didn't have any knowledge of it.
Right. And maybe we can talk about what we've seen happen over the last 6 or 8 months as we begin to have conversation with people, and trying to help them understand, the potential use cases. Well, we're introducing them to generative AI, but then what's the potential use case? And I think early on, we felt like, okay, we're going to share, we're talking about facilitating now. Right. We're going to share generative AI with them. Again, the 3 elements of, you got to have the knowledge. We're going to help you understand that with Quick Start, the tools, in our case, Boggler, or whatever the heck GPT you want to use. But then it's like, okay, facilitate it, or how do I take what I've learned and begin to implement it into my day-to-day workflow, creating efficiencies and things of that nature. Early on, we felt like, okay, people are going to want to embrace, learn as much as they can, and then be able to create all of that internally on their own. But I think that we've started to back away from that impression a little bit, and have realized through conversation that they need help doing that.
Well,
it's not so simple for them to go train and learn how to do it.
Yeah, so we obviously get geeked out about this stuff, and cool, check this out and do it.
Well, every day is something different, literally.
Literally. But not everyone else does. Everyone else has a day job as well.
Right.
And so they absolutely see the merit and the value. And yes, they have great intentions of, I need to do and get going on all this stuff. But what we're seeing now is, yeah, I want you to come train everyone, and that'll be great, and do all that. But can you just do this right now for me and figure out how to do this or this? So we've moved much more into a consultative and project-based solution of, here is my challenge, use all your AI magic and solve that. And
right.
If along the way in that process, I can learn what you're doing and pick up those tools or those processes, awesome. But in the meantime, I don't care what it takes or what it costs or whatever, just go do that.
Right.
Because they're seeing the impact. And when we go do that, we're seeing the impact for them.
Sure.
I mean, it's kind of crazy for us. We're on an hourly charge model, but it's almost like we should be on your cost of savings or your cost of winnings that you're getting, because they're massive, exponential wins for it.
Potentially, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. And from a project perspective, that's one scenario. But when you get into conversations, going back to Hawaii, talking to some of these people, and they were in awe. And it's no secret, if you ever watch this podcast, Sam is clearly the by his own admission, the big geek and the techie guy around this. But for me, the easiest thing that I've been able to do is say, listen, I don't need to know how AI works. And you get into conversations with people there, it's like the first thing you got to do is realize you don't know how your iPhone works, right?
Right.
So you just know how to use it. And the reality for generative AI, at least for me initially, and now certainly as we continue to evolve, I don't get bogged down in how that happens. I'm just starting to now understand, okay, I can create use cases and figure out how to make an issue or an efficiency better utilizing generative AI.
Yeah, I mean, you play yourself down, Robbie, but I think one of your skill sets is not creating the algorithms or doing that, but seeing the application in use,
Right.
which seems obvious to us, but it's not to most. So when you can walk in and do your kind of interview, if you will, of what are your pressure points or whatever, you're finally attuned at figuring out, oh, well, this is, you should look at it and do this and this, or this is the way you should prompt and instruct. And in the end, as we said from the get-go, and it's plain true, in the end, it's how good your prompt is and how well you direct your AI, right? And I think that is something that people will be having to learn down the road. When we say that 85% of the jobs in 2030 don't exist today, I bet you one of those jobs will be a prompt engineer.
For sure. And we've seen that. To piggyback on what you just talked about, your ability to really interface with generative AI is going to be based on how comfortable you are with collaborating with your computer. Right. I mean, it's great for you to have a conversation and collaborate with a coworker or a colleague or whatever. But as we said in Hawaii, it's if you can get comfortable having a conversation with generative AI, with AI, you're going to be amazed at what you can get out of it, just like you do when you communicate with someone.
And you hate it when I say this, but I'm going to say it again now. The minute you can move the keyboard out of the equation and figure out on your device how you can talk to it, so on the phone, just hitting the little microphone button, or on your Mac, you hit the control button, but figure it out on your PC or whatever it may be, how you can do your input via voice, and that hurdle is taken away, and then it is a conversation.
No, I agree with you. I don't hate that when you say that. I just think that as people are being introduced to it, it's human nature.
Yeah.
Right? Because you're uncomfortable verbalizing something.
Yeah, I'll say something I won't type.
Right. No, for sure. And when you're typing, certainly if you're in your office, right, you're probably initially going to, but you're 100% right. And it truly makes perfect sense when you're on your phone.
Yeah.
I mean, that makes total sense. But yeah, that it's been fun every single day, every single week is a constant evolution of
and we
learning.
did in that process finally, believe it or not, I know no one will, we did launch Prompt, and it's working great. And Prompt now will be followed by Prompt 2, which is the ability to do the training, which we're just kind of waiting for Prompt 1 to get out, and then Prompt 2 comes right behind. It's ready. And Assist will be out shortly, but holy cow, put your money where your mouth is. We used Assist constantly with each interaction that we had, which were jillions of them there, but be able to walk away and go, Robbie, who'd you talk with today? And what were they interested in is a unbelievable tool.
Yeah, I mean, it's a game changer.
It is.
I mean, that's an overused term, but in the world of sales, for sure, it's a game changer to be able to actually not worry about taking notes, to actually have a conversation, be present. And with this group specifically, they are, by their own admission, a heavily, heavily relationship-driven, very tight-knit group of 500 people.
And it's funny, on stage doing our circus of explanations of all these things, and then we do a brief mention of Assist, the number one requested and talked about thing in the Boggler Bar after, because we did the Boggler Bar for 2 days, because you can never get that done in a day, right? Because there's too many questions. But
I think, not to interrupt you, but because of that, I think some people initially were a little intimidated.
Right.
Right. So it took them a little bit to see other people.
But the next day they wouldn't leave us alone.
The next day it was nonstop.
But the real interest was, of course, in Assist, because there was no training. There is no training. There is no explanation. It's hit the button and go.
Right.
So that was Hawaii, and it was in Hawaii, Robbie. So we did have some good poke.
Yeah, we did. We had some.
We saw some pretty waves.
We did.
Some black lava.
We didn't see the beach. I didn't see the beach. Did you?
We didn't get to the beach.
All right. Yeah, good trip. Lots more to come. Much more travel coming up as the year progresses, to be sure. Let's move on and touch on a couple of new releases that have come out over the last couple weeks. One that I know was an eye opener for both of us, and holy cow, was Sora. You want to talk about?
Yeah, so if you remember, we said last year was the year of text and generating content and material in a text format.
Right.
Where this year we were going to see two things happen. We're going to see audio and video come to light and grow exponentially like we saw text do last year. And then the second thing is agency. So putting whatever your results are that are created into action. But no one had any idea that this video stuff would come out like it did. So OpenAI, the people that made ChatGPT, not released, but previewed their video GPT, if you will. And so what that means is that you put text in describing what's the sort of video that you would like, and you get near reality is what they're calling it.
Yeah, you prompt it just like you would.
And it is freaking 4K video.
Amazing.
And if you haven't, please go check out our Substack, the ThinkLabs, where I did a post all about it and gave the sample videos. But you'll look at it. Now,
Don't worry about the kitten or the cat with
well, that's the thing. So if you're
paws.
if you're cruising by this in your social stream,
Right.
It's like, oh, isn't that pretty or amazing or wow? I mean, there's movie trailers, there's off-road races, there's puppies, there's people walking in the snow in Tokyo. There's all kinds of stuff. Anything you can imagine, it'll create it just like that. We don't know. No one's got their hands on it. But all that said, if you're just scrolling through and you're that 73% that believes everything you see and feel and hear in your stream, then you're sold. Now, if you know that this is generated and you're a skeptic and you want to blast it and you stop and actually look at it, yeah, you see that cat had 3 paws in the front and 2 in the back.
Don't worry about that.
Right? Or you see that when you drop a glass, it just disappears when it hits the ground. It doesn't break or do any of that. It doesn't have any physics involved with it. It doesn't understand continuity.
Okay, yeah.
But could it make me look good presenting a new product? Sure.
Okay.
And then you pair that with like the Sam AI thing I did a couple weeks ago, and boy, this is moving very, very quick.
So do you see that being a plug-in or a button on you log into ChatGPT, just like you from an image generation perspective?
It's going to be embedded. So like right now, Dolly's embedded in ChatGPT, and ultimately all that gets embedded in Boggler. But as it's just another embed, I believe that they're going to have to charge a crap ton for that because it's using so much processing.
Yeah, sure.
And I'd love to. Maybe that's another blog podcast we need to start on the nerd side of how they're doing it, because it is some crazy.
Okay.
Anyway, the point is it's moving faster than we thought. It's 4K. Look at the video in our Substack and see what it's all about.
But sidebar, but you turned me on to that book a couple of years ago. The Future is Faster.
Yeah, Peter Diamandis.
Yes, yeah.
Future is faster than you think.
Yeah, crazy book.
And that's crazy, but it is.
Sure. No. Oh yeah. I mean,
and AI wasn't really even explained in that book.
Nope. No, it wasn't. You're right. It was literally flying cars and robots.
Yeah, it was.
Right. No, but it was super cool. Every time you say futures, it always reminds me of that book. Hey, let's hit on the fact that I guess Google decided that they needed a cooler, more interesting name.
That's a fun thing for marketing and PR. So I don't know who knew who scooped. I don't know if Google scooped that OpenAI was gonna drop the video, or if OpenAI scooped that Google is gonna drop Gemini, which is Google has sucked, to be honest, as a generative AI solution till now, because they got caught way behind the game. OpenAI dropped ChatGPT. No one knew that was coming. Everyone was working on it. And then all of a sudden, everyone had to go, oh, yeah, we've got one too. Here's ours.
Hurry up.
And then they ran it out the door, and it's garbage, right? So you got all these corporations who are now making decisions on garbage GPTs that are inside their tech stack already.
Mm-hmm.
and they're making decisions on what they saw 3 months ago.
Right.
And that's our whole point, people, is you can't make long-term decisions from a point in time. It's an ongoing thing, because if you made your decision way back when and said Google sucks and is never going to be any good,
Right.
watch out, because it's smoking ChatGPT now. And by the way, our friends at Apple aren't too far behind. They're going to be dropping something. And then this morning, Robbie, I started a new one, which is not actually a GPT. It's a processor that uses the GPTs called Grok, Groq. That's not the Twitter thing, Grok with a K.
Well, that's X now.
It's
It's
a Q.
formerly known as Twitter.
Okay, it's a Q. But what it does, listen to this. Here's our new word for the day. It's got an inference processor. So whenever you prompt something, it normally will look at your information, if you have a good GPT, and then infer from that a response. That uses crazy amounts of power and energy and memory. So this guy created, I mean, he had to start this a while ago, and talk about being at the right place at the right time. And now he's like, hey, here's this new chip that's going to make your processing 20 times faster. And it basically comes to light a day after NVIDIA goes, hey, by the way, we're ballers. Look at the jillions of chips we've been selling. So now here's a specialized chip that kills NVIDIA. So if you're looking for something to invest in, even though you're not supposed to be asking us for it, see if you can invest in Grok with a Q. You can't, but if you could, you should. But let's go back to Gemini. Gemini is the new GPT release that was supposed to be an upgrade of Bard, and they released Gemini 1.0 to support Bard. And within a week, they said, yeah, just kidding, Bard, you're out of here. We're now calling our entire GPT stuff Gemini, and we're already ready for an update. They're already on 1.5. I would think that's the fastest update we've seen thus far. 1 week.
Yeah, with the exception of their image generation.
With their image generation.
They dropped that. They pulled that down already.
So the interesting thing with Gemini, or Google's thing, is that while ChatGPT is like, hey, look, we're doing text. Oh, you want image or you want video? These are all plugins and add-ons.
Right.
Where Google is organically, from the get-go, being multimodal. So all of their generation has always been based in video, text, and photo.
Right.
But yeah, tell me more about that, because I didn't pay attention to that piece.
Yeah, they took it down a couple days ago. I don't know if it's back up, because I thought I shared this with you. So one of the issues among many, but the one that got publicized a little bit, is that if you were to ask Gemini to generate an image historically of our forefathers in any sort of situation, it had a difficult time creating images that look like you and I.
Really?
I told you this, didn't I? Yeah, so they literally had to take it down, and there was there was a statement made by Google's whatever, head of development for images that, yes, this is a problem. Yes, we need to
a reverse bias, if you will.
Yeah, well, that's exactly what it was, and that was the unintentional element that came out of it, is that it had no issue generating images of people of color, and certainly that became increasingly evident, be it right, wrong, or indifferent, when you start pulling historical or asking for historically generated images.
That's kind of interesting,
because the whole biases thing comes into play, right? And that was a discussion that took place about who was ultimately involved in the development of that of the model.
That's going to happen. I mean, even if you're making your own GPT or you're creating your own Boggler Teams account, it's biased.
It is, but
it's biased to you.
Right, yes, to you.
Right.
Not to to everyone. So anyway, I don't know when it'll come back up, but yeah, they took it down to try to create or fix the algorithms.
The algos.
The algos.
Well, let me touch more a little bit on Grok and why that's important. So the inference processor, as we move into
don't go too geeky.
No, I won't.
Here.
But what that's going to do is it's going to make the video, and it's going to make all this actionable models. Remember the whole little rabbit thing? So I need you to not only process my results, but I need you to go act on them. So all of that inference and that processing is now like that. It's 20 times faster. It's 20 times cheaper. So that is like just pouring Red Bull on this whole thing. So even though we've been doubling and tripling and 100x and all that kind of stuff, it's going to be even more now thanks to Grok.
Well, it's crazy. If you are a GPT-4 Turbo user, you understand how quick that is. This is shockingly fast. And it is literally hit return, boom. And
we ran some of our assist algos on there, which normally we're seeing about a 3 to 5 second return on a massive algorithm. And to your point, you hit a button and there's no, let me write it across the screen. It's like, bing, there it is.
We haven't had enough time really to drill down into the strengths and weaknesses of it, other than how incredibly fast it is.
No, but it did a good summarization
of the transcript,
and wrote that beautiful letter this morning.
Okay,
that made me sound so brilliant.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Do we have anything more to talk about?
No, we just wanted to. We needed to do a podcast because for the 4 listeners that we have, we want to make sure that they know we got back from Hawaii and we're alive.
Yeah.
Although your mom knows you're alive.
Yeah. We didn't. People were wondering what happened. Did they bite it? No, but we're still here, guys. Energizer bunnies, and we should have a fun discussion next week because there's a lot of stuff happening here in the studio.
In the hopper.
Yeah, that we should be able to share. So think about your AI initiatives and whether you want to tackle those or maybe have someone tackle them for you.
Yeah, reach out. Let us know.
And that's all we got for today. Have a good one.
Thanks for tuning into the AI show from ThinkLabs. Don't miss out on next week's episode where we'll continue to Fisher-Price the latest in AI that will make impact for you and your organization. Be sure to subscribe so you never miss an update and visit redbutton.ai to learn more about innovation for professionals and organizations. By the way, I'm Boggler, Sam and Robbie's professional assistant that takes care of all their busy work. Ever think about all that repetitive, mind-numbing, time-sucking busy work I could knock out for you? That's it for now. Thanks again for joining. Until next time, make it an awesome week.